The EICMA show in Milan was a busy place to be a couple of Mondays ago, with new bikes arriving across the sprawling site. Two of the biggest all-new machines came in the form of the Honda XL750 Transalp and the Suzuki V-Strom 800DE. Both were launched within a matter of minutes of each other, and it didn't take long to realise that these two new adventure machines were very closely matched. To help you understand the differences between the two models, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the specification of each, while we wait for our first rides of them in the new year. For starters, both these bikes are running parallel twin-cylinder engines, which are around 800 cc's. The Suzuki makes 84 horsepower and the Honda makes 90. Torque is 57 pound-foot for the V-Strom and 55 for the Honda Transalp, with the Honda engine making that peak figure 450 RPM higher up the rev range at 7,250 RPM. They both also feature 270-degree cranks, meaning the engine character of each will be more like a V-twin, quite possibly a nod to each of the bike's V-twin heritage. Each machine will also put the power down through a 6-speed gearbox, and they both run slipper clutches for easier shifting and a lighter clutch feel. That should also offer less rear wheel hop on aggressive down changes. One area where there could be a clear winner between the two is on the fuel economy front, and when you take into account the range. If the quoted figures are to be believed, the Transalp should have a maximum range of around 240 miles thanks to its 16.9 litre tank and a claimed economy of 54 mpg. The V-Strom, on the other hand, has a slightly larger 20 litre fuel tank and better fuel economy that's claimed at 64 mpg. It trumps the Honda with a range of around 270 miles. Now, before we get too excited, we are going to take those numbers with a big pinch of salt, at least until we've ridden the bike on real roads though. But so far, it is actually looking quite close. The chassis of each is also remarkably similar, with both bikes running steel diamond frames with the engine as a stressed member. Honda though went for an integral subframe design, while the Suzuki uses a bolt-on item. Suspension is provided by Showa for both bikes, and for the second time we start to see some space between the two. While the Suzuki features full adjustability at both ends, the Honda features only preload adjustment front and rear. The Suzuki also has marginally more travel than the Transalp, with 220mm front and rear. That does raise the seat height of the new 800DE, and in stock trim its perch sits at 855mm. 5mm more than the Transalp. Ground clearance is also more favourable for off-road work on the new V-Strom, with 220mm on offer, 10mm more than the Transalp. One of the biggest areas of difference between these two machines is in the quoted curb weight. Whether that really matters to you will be a matter of opinion, but when the gap between the two bikes is a quoted 22 kilograms, it's well worth a mention. Honda is quoting a 208 kilogram curb weight for the new Transalp, while the same measurement on the V-Strom tips the scales at 230 kg. Not only does that make it heavier than the competition from KTM, Yamaha and of course this new Honda, it's also actually heavier than the quoted curb weight of the base model CRF 1100L Africa Twin. As I did mention at the start, that number will matter to some people more than others, although smaller riders and those who are shorter in the leg might want to take note. The geometry of the two bikes again is very similar, with the Honda featuring rake and trail, which are set at 27 degrees and 111mm, and a wheelbase of 1560mm. The Suzuki boasts 28 degrees of rake and 114mm of trail, with an overall wheelbase of 1570mm. Based on these numbers, the Honda might be the more sprightly machine, especially when out on a twisty road. Braking on both bikes is taken care of by dual 2-piston calipers at the front and 310mm wavy discs. And unsurprisingly, both bikes are running Nissin-made items. The rear brake on the Honda is a 256mm wave-type disc operated by a single-piston caliper, and on the Suzuki we find a single-piston sliding caliper and conventional 260mm disc. One area where both these bikes borrow from their bigger siblings is on the electronics front, with the Africa Twin and V-Strom 1050 inspiring each manufacturer's design. ABS, though, on both of these is a conventional 2-channel system with no cornering function or IMU. You do get multi-level ABS on each though, and crucially each bike will give you the option of switching the ABS off to the rear wheel altogether. They also both come with multi-level traction control and a bespoke off-road setting. The Honda boasts 5 stages of traction control adjustment with integrated wheelie control. The Suzuki, on the other hand, boasts 4 levels of adjustment, and each bike allows the rider to turn the traction control off altogether. It was clear within minutes of both these bikes being launched at EICMA that the gap between them was going to be very close indeed, and they are born natural competitors. The engines are so close on so many metrics they could be almost interchangeable, and the electronics almost look like the two teams have designed them in tandem. And while there are some small changes in geometry from one to the other, whether or not those will be felt on the road remains to be seen. Another yet to be discovered piece of information about both is the price, as both Honda and Suzuki remain tight-lipped at the show about what they might be. While we are sure they will both be competitive, we can only speculate as to what the actual cost of landing one in your garage will be. If the Suzuki is as cheap to buy as some of the other bikes in the range, the new V-Strom might be a very enticing option for on-road touring and light off-road work. That said, the Transalp is a legendary name in the field, with its lighter weight and almost equal spec. Those who fell in love with the original XL models may want to rekindle that relationship. So that's our take on the new V-Strom and Transalp. Please do let us know in the comments below what you think, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date with all of Visordown's latest videos. Both these bikes have got full write-ups over on Visordown.com, so if you'd like more information, please head over and check those out. And for all the latest news, reviews and motorcycle features, get yourself over to the website.